Chapter 19. Attempted Responses.
We're in for a long one, boys.
Realising there is a loud jangling noise in my ear, I groan and lift the hotel room telephone receiver to my ear. Hello? I mumble sleepily into the phone, without opening my eyes or lifting my head off the pillow. Sorry to interrupt your beauty sleep, Miller, Graham says, his tone full of irritation. But maybe you've forgotten something. Something important. Opening my eyes, I roll onto my back and groan. Like the fact we are in the middle of a production right now, and you should have been here hours ago, he goes on, his voice elevating to a yell. Do you have any idea what time it is? Wincing, I hold the receiver a short distance away from my ear. No, I yawn. Don't worry, I'll be there. I know you've got personal problems, but nobody has been able to get in touch with you, and we really need to stay on schedule here. If you don't get down to Pinewood soon, Bernstein's going to have a cow, he goes on, sounding highly stressed. Sorry, I yawn again, and sit up on the edge of the bed. I turned my phone off because I've been getting threatening phone calls. Just chill, okay? I'll be there as soon as I can. Beautiful, he replies, before disconnecting. Plonking the receiver back onto the old-fashioned phone base with a click, I rub my face with my hands and go to the bathroom to relieve myself and splash water on my face. When I'm ready, I ring down to reception and ask them to book me a taxi for as soon as possible. Then I head downstairs. I don't bother eating anything. I don't have much of an appetite anyway. When I get to the film set, I go looking for Graham, but it doesn't take long to find him. There you are, thank God, Graham exclaims, looking and sounding relieved. Then he almost looks concerned. You look like hell. Are you okay? I just shrug my shoulders. Here I am, I yawn, extending my arms wide at my sides and then clapping my hands together in front of me. Let's get this done, shall we? Are you sure you're up to this? He questions, sounding genuinely concerned. Sure, I smile. I'll go and get ready. Sorry to have kept you waiting so long. Once I'm in costume and had the stage makeup applied and everything, I get into position on set. This is the big scene in the movie. My character, Scott Thompson, is in a bank in the middle of the night with my partners in crime, knocking it over. Are you sure we're alone? Fred Davis, Justin's character, says as soon as we're rolling. He sounds nervous and looks around the quiet set anxiously. You're jumping at shadows, I laugh, glancing away from the door to the bank safe for a moment. If you don't stop that, you're going to make me nervous. Let's just get the cash and get the hell out of here. It doesn't take long for us to crack the safe, since we have the code. I pull the heavy door open with Davis's help, and then he turns to me again. Are we on tape? Davis questions, still unsettled. I've rigged the video, you arsehole. Malcolm O'Leary, Jeff Maynard's character, sighs from behind us. He works in the bank as the security guard. I walk inside the safe and begin shoving money into my rucksack. Right, Davis sighs before joining me. I stop shoveling cash into my bag for a moment and turn to where O'Leary stood in the vault doorway. Are you sure you've covered yourself? I question, sounding worried. You are most likely to come under suspicion. What if they rumble you? He tilts his face towards the ceiling and groans. I've sorted it. O'Leary sighs deeply. Nothing bad is going to happen. Will you two just relax, for fuck's sake? With that, he sticks his thumbs through his belt loops at his hips and slowly strolls out of sight. I go back to filling my bag. You're starting to make me jittery, his voice echoes back to us. I've just about filled my bag to capacity when Davis pipes up. Okay, that's it, he sighs, the sound of a zip closing accompanying his words. Fastening my own bag, I turn and give him a nod before following him out of the vault. We shut the safe door again behind us, and O'Leary trails behind as we head for the exit. We reach the back alley behind the building and notice two men in conversation. They are in the alley, not far away, but I've not seen as yet. They could, in fact, be arguing. O'Leary slips behind us, holding back, and lingers out of sight in the shadows of the doorway, putting a finger to his lips as he does so. We have to walk past the two men to get out of here. Davis and I exchange a worried, what do we do now, looks, and don't notice that one of the men has pulled out a gun. Suddenly there is a loud report as the gun goes off. After blasting his companion, Ryan's character does not immediately leave. Instead, he turns in our direction, finally noticing our presence. As he approaches, Davis and I covertly pull our guns from the backs of our waistbands. Ryan raises the gun he is still holding in his hand, stopping a couple of feet away from us, and calmly moves the gun between our heads, waiting to see if one of us is going to make a move on him. "Hold it right there," Ryan says. His voice carries a lot of authority, and surprisingly there is no sweat on his brow. Not yet. "Who are you guys, and what the hell are you doing here?" "Listen, you never saw us," Davis says, advancing on him, staring hard and unafraid of the weapon in his face. "Right?" His tone is threatening. He's got his nerve back. "You didn't see me, and I didn't see you," Ryan says, his tone heavy with suggestion, as he looks at us with narrowed eyes down the barrel of his gun. Out of the corner of my eye, I notice O'Leary creeping up behind this guy, gun ready, and have a real hard time avoiding looking directly at him. It'll give him away, not to mention the fact I'm not supposed to look at him, and avoiding doing so is the hardest thing ever. "That the deal you can live with?" I say, matching his hard tone. "Yeah," he says, and slowly nods his head, but fails to lower his weapon. O'Leary presses the barrel of his gun against the back of this guy's head. "Drop it," he commands. "Now." Ryan drops his aim away from our heads, but his grip on the gun does not loosen, as his eyes swivel to the side. "Are you a cop?" "Yeah," O'Leary agrees, cocking his gun for added effect. "Now drop your weapon before I blow your head off." He complies. Davis picks up his gun, and O'Leary slams Ryan's head against the wall, knocking his character out. Ryan slumps to the ground, feigning unconsciousness. "We have to waste him," O'Leary says matter-of-factly. "Wait," I exclaim, my eyes widening. "That was never discussed. I'm not comfortable with that." "Yeah," Davis agrees. "Murder wasn't on the menu, O'Leary. The whole point of this burglar bill routine was so that we didn't have to hurt anybody." O'Leary watches the guy, his gun still aimed at him. "Well, here we are now, guys. The game has changed," he said. "Don't go getting squeamish on me." I put my hand on the barrel, appearing nervous, and push it lower, away from this guy's head. "Just wait a minute," I say, my tone full of curiosity, and Neil at his side, starting to rifle through his pockets. "Who is this guy, anyway?" "We don't need to know," Davis sighs anxiously. "We just need to get out of here, Thompson." I whistle when I catch sight of the police badge in the guy's wallet and hold it up for them to see. "Wouldn't be so sure about that, huh?" "Oh my God," Davis exclaims, turning his back on us. "That settles it," O'Leary sighs. "This guy definitely needs lead poisoning." "Jesus Christ," Davis moans. "Will you shut up?" "Search his pockets," I say, nodding towards the guy bleeding all over the tarmac a few feet away. Eyeing O'Leary and his gun nervously, Davis walks over to the other guy and crouches down to search him. "He's covered in blood," Davis says, sounding shocked. "He alive?" I question, watching him gingerly search his pockets. Davis shakes his head. "Couldn't tell you with this much blood, I doubt it," he says. "So what the fuck is going on here?" "What's up?" O'Leary questions, responding to his puzzled tone of voice. Davis holds up another police shield. "Is this Dirty Harry and Dirty Henry, or what?" he says. "Let's just go," I say, sounding nervous, and tuck the badge back into his pocket. "Officer Miles Joseph, that's who we can look for if the need arises." Davis slips the other cop's badge back where he found it and gets to his feet. "If we shoot that cop, we're only making things worse," he says, checking himself for blood. "Come on, O'Leary, let's go, huh?" "No," O'Leary says. "He needs a bullet in the head, cop or not. It's the only way to settle this." "Like hell he does," Davis exclaims, tugging on O'Leary's arm. "Come on, arsehole, leave him, for fuck's sake." I shove him down the alleyway, away from the unconscious cop. "You guys are pussies," he grumbles. "You know that robbery charge we're looking at if the cops connect the missing money to us?" I questioned tersely, talking in his ear. "Guess what that turns into if they track us down, huh?" He turns his head, giving me a withering look, like I should expect him to have already thought of that. "Felony murder, dickhead," I carry on, talking regardless, answering my own question. "You ready to spend the rest of your life behind bars?" Not only that, but he's a cop, Davis pipes up. Those folks are relentless when it comes to protecting their own. Louis looks round at Davis and then rolls his eyes at something. What if Joseph fingers us for his pal's death, he suggests. And how's he going to do that, I say. Well, for starters, we've got the murder weapon, he smiles, gesturing towards the second gun Davis is still carrying. Damn it, Davis exclaims, probably very glad of the latex gloves. Wait here a minute. After retracing his steps, Davis returns without the extra gun, and we climb into our ride. I don't like this, I mutter, shaking my head anxiously. I've got a bad feeling. I'm ready to give you 2 lead poisoning, I tell you, O'Leary sighs with exasperation. Just relax, we've got what we came for. There's nothing to worry about. Cut, Graham yells, his command followed by a chorus of bells. Glad we've finally got that scene done, I climb out of the car and pull off my latex gloves. I lost count of how many retakes we had to do because I kept fluffing my lines. It's not like me either. If anyone can be accused of being consistently reliable with fluffing lines, it's Karen. Lucky she's not in many scenes. Hey, did you notice? Jeff elbows Justin, grinning, and points out something on the wall to him. Sure did, Justin snickers, lapsing back into his natural voice. Ryan comes over to me, frowning. How sturdy do they make this scenery anyway? He scowls, rubbing his head. I know that was staged, but ow. I smile faintly at him. You gonna be okay? He nods and his expression changes. Are you okay, mate? He puts a hand on my shoulder. You're not yourself today. I shrug and try to give him a reassuring smile. Sure. I pat his shoulder. I'm going back to my trailer. See you later. I grab a bottle of water on my way out of the studio, but don't stop to make small talk with any of the other cast members or crew. In my trailer, I change out of my costume outfit and drain most of the water before looking at myself in the mirror. I still have the makeup on, so I look good enough for the cameras, but he's right, I don't look so good today. Washing off the stage makeup, my face soon returns to what is now my normal, tired, drawn and washed out look. Or maybe it's just been a long day. There's a knock on the door. It's me, Ryan calls out. Are you decent? Checking I fastened the flies on my jeans, I go to the door, wiping my face with the towel, and open it. Hey, I greet him, surprised to see that he has company. Standing at his side, dressed in a regular-looking t-shirt and skirt, is the gorgeous woman I have only ever seen in photographs before. Naked, I might add. Ryan grins and looks wordlessly between me and her for a moment. Well, hello, I grin, my face lighting up as I look her up and down. You must be this Elle I've been hearing so much about. I make sure my hand is dry before swapping hands with the towel and holding my hand out to her to shake. Hi, Mike. Elle smiles, her eyes lingering on my bare chest, before she clutches my outstretched hand. It's nice to meet you. Her hand is warm and soft, her grip gentle but firm. Her voice is soft and sweet with a distinct Irish kick to it. I grip her hand, but not too firmly. It's a pleasure to finally meet you, I smile. She looks really happy. Her eyes are bright and shining with pleasure, especially when she glances at Ryan. Ryan has told me all about you, she giggles. Her chest quivers when she does that, and I find it increasingly difficult not to stare at it, especially since her t-shirt is low cut over her breasts, enhancing the size and curve. All good, I hope, smiling and forcing my eyes to remain on hers before looking down at the towel in my hands. He's told me about you too. Wait, did I already say that? We're going out tonight, Ryan says proudly. I look up at him and smile again. We'll have a good time, won't you? Oh my god, my eyes just want to go to her chest and stay there. I'm not a pervert, damn it. I won't look, I won't. Thank you, Elle grins, slipping her hand into Ryan's and giving it a squeeze. I'm sure we will, Ryan says, licking his lips and looking fondly at her. Let me just say thanks, Mike, Elle says, for not talking to my chest. It makes a nice change. I laugh and find myself glancing at her breasts before averting my eyes again. You're welcome, I smile, looking into her eyes again. I look at Ryan, passing my tongue over my lips nervously, and he just briefly raises his eyebrows. I'll see you later, he says, starting to lead her away. Bye. I lift my hand, waving at Elle with a smile, and watched them walk down the steps at my trailer door, noticing her nice ass. Stepping back inside, I closed the door again and rolled my eyes at myself. Jesus, get a grip. It's not like I haven't met hot women before. I need to make a phone call. Tossing the towel aside, I dig out my phone and dare to switch it on again. Ignoring all the missed calls and new messages, I dial a number from my phone book. Fleur Carmel, she answers, her tone normal and businesslike. It's Mike Miller, I say, resisting the old urge to respond with some easy insult. Can we talk someplace, Fleur? I run my hand through my hair, hoping she is going to agree to this. Sure, she says, hesitantly, her voice filled with surprise. I'm free right now. Where do you want to meet? She was probably on the verge of calling it a night, considering the time, so I feel lucky to have caught her. Not that she'd turn down the prospect of a story for the sake of clogging off work, of course. You know the hotel where I stay when I'm working in London, I say, certain she will. Will you come to my room? I don't want to talk where people could overhear. There is a moment of silence while she considers this, and I wait patiently, listening to the faint buzzing of the telephone line. Sure, Mike, Fleur agrees, her voice neutral. She's not giving anything away, but at least she agreed to it. Thanks, Carmel, I sigh. Room number 1005. I'll see you there in a while, okay? So is this going to be like an official interview? She says. Maybe, I shrug. In that case, do you mind if I bring along one of our photographers with me? I suck air in through my teeth, wincing at this prospect, making an audible sound. Yes, I mind. I'd like you to come alone, please. There is another silent pause on the line. So let me get this straight, she says, speaking slightly slower than normal. You want me to come to your hotel room alone so that we can have an interview, and I'm supposed to be comfortable with that? Puffing out my cheeks, I decide to guilt-trip her. Look, you owe me, don't forget, I say, resisting the temptation to add in the word bitch. I make my voice slightly sing-song and add, What's the matter, Fleur? Don't you trust me? I'll be there, she says curly, and then the line goes dead. Sighing, I flip my phone shut, remembering to turn it off again and slip it into my pocket. Locating one of my own t-shirts, I slip it on and get ready to leave. When I reach my hotel, all I really want to do is get drunk and fall asleep, but instead I head up to my room and wait for Fleur to arrive. Setting the bottle of whiskey I brought on the way here on the dresser, I sit on the corner of the bed and pull off my trainers before wandering over to the window and peering through the gap in the curtains. It's tempting to have some of that to drink, but I'll resist for now. I don't need to turn on the TV or radio to know what people are talking about. I am one of the hottest gossip topics at the moment. Don't think I haven't noticed the stares I get over I go. It's not because I'm famous, it's because I'm infamous. Look, there he is, the rhinestone rapist. I don't know how to deal with him. To hell with it. Returning to the dresser, I pour out a glass of alcohol and knock it back. Then there is a knock on the door. I open the door to let Fleur in, then turn back to the dresser, leaving her to shut it after herself. Hi, Fleur, I greet her, as I fill the glass again, but don't drink it yet. This is rather unorthodox, Miller, she says, the sound of the door closing accompanying her words. I sit in the corner of the bed and watch her. She sounded anxious, and hesitantly walks further into the room, looking about. Yeah, I know. I gesture towards the only chair in the room. Please sit down. She looks from me to the chair, as if it's a trick of some kind, before she sits in it. So why did you ask me here? Fleur says, setting her bag on the floor at her feet. I shrug, not totally sure of the answer to that myself. I don't know. I stare down at the patterns on the carpet for a moment. After that bullshit story you ran about that thing with curly hair, maybe this is a bad idea, but here we are. She smiles and leans down, reaching into her bag. Trouble seems to have a habit of following you around, doesn't it? So what do you want to know first? I say, leaning on my elbows on my knees. I feel like I should start by professing my innocence, but now that she's here, I have no idea how to say it best. I'm sure you know that, she smiles, opening her notebook and jotting something down. What's the girl's name? I frown. You know, I don't even know that. She looks up from her notes. Yes, it's not something you wait around to find out in that situation, is it? She remarks, with an unpleasant smile on her lips now. You just do the deed and run, right? Well, there's no need to ask what she thinks. She has made her views crystal clear. Oh, you bitch, I gasp, venom clear in my tone, as my teeth grind together. How dare you? That's not funny, Carmel. She laughs, looking totally comfortable now, and is clearly amused by my reaction. Brianna Fox, she smirks, scribbling something down. That's the victim. Was I wrong to ask her here? Am I just wasting my time making things worse? How could I forget what she can be like? What was I thinking? Of all the reporters I could have called, she ought to be bottom of the list. Even if she writes what she thinks, as opposed to what I tell her, I have to give this a chance. Whatever you may think about me, Fleur, I didn't do it, I say, managing to drop the animosity long enough to make my words sound genuine. I don't know that girl, and I swear to you, I never touched her. She says, not lifting her eyes to look at me. You know, this has nothing to do with you and me. Just walk me through what happened. I puff out my cheeks, scanning my thoughts for an appropriate answer and wishing I knew. I was out drinking with some friends, I say, watching her and trying to figure out if she's making notes or just doodling. I stumbled into her round the back of the nightclub. I just come out with the most plausible possibility. Okay. She nods, her attention still on her notepad and pen. So why did you go round the back? I heard a noise, I blurt out, just coming out with the first thing that comes to mind. She nods again. Okay, so go on, what happened then? I was drunk. I ran a hand through my hair, trying to figure out how things might have gone down. I tripped, and then she started screaming and scratching me. The rapist was long gone, so I just ran away. I have no idea what the hell I'm saying. I wonder if she knows it's bull. She is actually looking at me now. You sure that's how it went? She says, looking doubtful. Don't start doubting my word, I say, pressing my lips together tightly. So why'd you hit that policewoman? She says, looking curious. I can't think of any reason or circumstance in which I would do that. How can I explain that without telling her the absolute truth? I don't know, I whisper, my eyes fixed on the chair leg next to her purse. I heard you can't remember anything about that night, she says, her tone making it clear she is gloating and pleased to know this juicy detail. That's true, isn't it? I get up and lift the glass from the dresser, hating how pleased with herself she looks. Where'd you hear that? I ask, knocking back contents of the glass. It's true, isn't it? She purrs. You can't deny it forever. I know the truth when I hear it. So? I say curtly, looking into the empty glass. I fill it again and consider nicking it. You know what else I heard? She says, still purring. I can't stand her. How much she is enjoying this. Why the hell did I ask her here? Raina has identified you as her assailant, she goes on. I nearly drop the glass and look at her, startled. How? I gasp, my eyes wide. Looking at her, I know she's serious, and really wish it wasn't true. How can this have happened? Photo ID, she shrugs, as if it's no big deal. Feeling the blood drain from my face, I quickly sit down again before I fall down. That is not possible. I shake my head and stare into space, trying to absorb this information. Oh my God. Remembering the drink in my hand, I swallow it in one and stare at the leg of the dresser next to where she is sat, where there's a chunk missing from the wood. How long does DNA comparing take? I question. My hand hangs down at my side, and I let the glass slip from my fingers, making a soft thud as it connects with the carpeted floor. A couple of weeks, maybe? Fleur shrugs. I have no idea. I laugh, but the sound is hollow. That's brilliant, I say, gritting my teeth. That's forever. I'm a dead man already. I hate how much the cops like me for this. What do you know about their investigation, Fleur? As far as they are concerned, you are the perp, and they are just biding their time until they have enough evidence to charge you, she says, returning to her note-taking. Tunnel vision. I shake my head and close my eyes, pinching the bridge of my nose between my thumb and forefinger, as if it will make all this go away. That's just perfect, isn't it? I lift my head to look at her and watch her scribble. They'll be disappointed when they find out the evidence does not point in my direction, I say. I don't really need to ask this, but I think it needs to be said out loud. So what do you think? Fleur looks at me, a distinct wave of discomfort washing over her as her brain ticks over, trying to conjure up a response that might make me want to smack her. Or maybe she'll get a kick out of that. I think I've learned not to underestimate her, but I do enjoy making her squirm for a change. Never mind. I shake my head and lift the glass from the floor. This was a mistake. I wanted to respond to the arrest publicly, but I think I've just screwed this up. She smiles in response to something I said and scribbles down another note. Trying not to let her get to me any more than she already has, I pour out another glass of whiskey. I'm innocent, Fleur, and it scares the hell out of me to be caught up in this. Everyone out there who has heard about this will have the same attitude as you, and just assume guilt by association, I say, knocking back the drink. Do you mind if I snap a photo of you? She says. To be honest, it surprises me that she's asking my permission. I look like hell, I point out, noticing that she has her phone in her hand now, even though I have not yet agreed. You look like you're going through hell, she says. I shrug vaguely in agreement, feeling certain that she will take a photo whatever I say. She raises her phone to her face like it's a camera, and I stare at her, not posing per se. There is a click as the photo takes, and a flash bursts in my face. I'm left with little white blobs floating across my vision as she snaps another and then another. Thanks, Mike, she says. I blink furiously, but this does little to chase the blinding blobs away. She might have smiled at me, but I can't really tell. Okay, I say, concentrating on the temporary blindness. I get a sudden feeling of intense fear, and my muscles kind of freeze up, nausea accompanying this. I can't explain it. Well, I have to get going, Fleur sighs, tucking her things away in her bag. The relief when my sight returns to normal is indescribable. I follow her to the door and offer my hand before either one of us moves to open it. Instead of shaking it, she pats me on the shoulder, looking intensely uncomfortable. You take care now, she smiles nervously at me. Then she turns and reaches for the door handle. I lean my arm against the door nearest to the frame on the side where it opens so that she can't leave yet. Hold on just a minute, I say, watching tension ripple through her body. What? She says to the door, her voice virtually a nervous squeak. You think I did it, don't you? I say, feeling more at ease than she looks. No, she says, still talking to the door, but I've heard a lot of things about you. It's hard to know what to believe. It's hard to determine one way or the other, considering how nervous she is, but I have to say I think the no was a straight-out lie. I tap her on the shoulder. Look at me, would you? She turns her head and looks up at me, but now has her game face on, and it's hard to read her. What have you heard about me? I smile, feeling the buzz from the alcohol. Open the door right now, she demands, her voice slightly shaky. You know, I'm relying on you, I say, staring at the label of her collared cardigan as I stroke it with my fingers. Not to go back to the office and reel off another bullshit story about how I did that rape and what a monster I am. You know that, right, sweetheart? I look into her face again with a smile as she swats my hand away and visibly takes offence at both the gesture and the overly familiar pet name. I only wrote the truth, she huffs, her voice definitely shaky. Whether from the offence she feels out of fear or what I might try and do, I don't know. I laugh like it's the funniest thing I've ever heard. She only writes the truth. Oh, give me a break. Fleur tenses at the sound, probably having no clue what I'm so amused about. And what do you think that is, Fleur? I frown at her, still highly amused by this whole situation. Maybe it's just the whiskey. Why won't you tell me? How about you tell me what this little exercise is supposed to prove, she says snidely. I can't tell if she looks more angry, offended, fed up, or scared. What's wrong, Fleur? I purr suggestively, grinning as I stroke her fluffy lapel again, my fingers sliding down lower over her breast this time. You afraid I'm going to keep you here and hurt you in some way, huh? I never knew you were such a sick son of a bitch, she snaps, all out angry now, and slaps my hand away again. I laugh again, enjoying her reaction. I know you're really enjoying this, she says through gritted teeth, but if you don't let me leave in the next 10 seconds, I'm going to start screaming at the top of my lungs. You know, this is the most relaxed I've felt in days. I sigh, still smirking at her, and not yet lifting my hand from the door. 5, 4, 3, she counts, looking anything but amused. I wait until she gasps in a deep, ready-to-scream breath and to lift my hand from the door and step back. I'm just playing with you, Carmel. I smile as she throws open the door. She steps into the doorway and hesitates, visibly shaking. There won't be a next time, she begins, but if there is, believe me, I will not be going anywhere alone with you. You know, I'm through trying to defend myself to everyone, I say. She just makes a kind of harumph sound and makes off down the hotel corridor. I don't care what anyone thinks anymore, I holler after her before stepping back inside. Well, that went well. Before the door connects with the door frame, something on the other side stops it. Hey, Mikey, it's me, Ryan's voice calls. I let him inside and leave him to close the door. Hi, buddy, I greet him, lifting the bottle to my lips and taking a sip. Friend of yours? He says. I glance at him, the bottle close to my lips. I mutter. I see him standing with the door still open and looking down the corridor in the direction Fleur went. Not likely. I grunt, necking more whiskey. How are you, buddy? Things going well with Elle? She's way hotter in the flesh, by the way. He shuts the door and comes closer to me. I'm worried about you, he says, sounding it, and places a hand on my shoulder. How are you coping? I shrug and brandish the already half-empty bottle in the air between us. I get by, you know, I say, frowning at the bottle instead of looking directly at him. I think he broke up with me. Why is that something to cry over? He snorts, walking over to the light switch and turning the dimmer up. I'm not sure I'm ready for that, I sigh, flopping back onto the bed and wincing at the bright light. I watch him turn the desk chair around and sit on it backwards, leaning over the back, his chin on his hands as he looks at me for a long moment. What exactly did she say? He says. I pull out my phone and stare at the dark screen for a moment. We need a break, I tell it with a sigh, according to her. I decide to turn it on again and risk the enduring phone calls in case anybody worth speaking to tries to get in touch with me. You know, I really thought she believed me, Fry. I scowl, glancing up at him, but now she's not sure. Or maybe she never did, but wanted to believe me so much that she tried for a while. So what changed? He says. Something must have woken those green-eyed monsters again. I groan and lie back on the bed. Damned if I know, bud, I sigh, tossing my phone in his direction. Check out my messages if you want. Maybe you can figure it out. The last thing she did was read through them. I gather from the silence that he is scrolling through my phone, but don't lift my head to see. It sure sounds like there's something going on from these, mate, he says, and then whistles through his teeth. This your stalker, babe? I say, without looking up, and sip more whiskey, without spilling it over myself. And she's not a babe, just a bitch. She sent you several nude photos, he gasps, sounding shocked. Yeah, I noticed that, I snort. So did Eve. She actually rang that bitch up and spoke to her. Eve? He splutters. I glance at him and laugh at the look on his face. I know, right? I smile. Eve warned her off, but it's hard to say if that will have any effect. This bitch is committed to destroying either my sanity or my relationship, and I'm afraid it's working, on both counts. I lift my head and shoulders off the bed long enough to knock back a large mouthful of whiskey. Well, that bitch, as you put it, says you slept together somewhere here. Ryan frowns, intent on my phone again. No, she implies it, I exclaim, lifting my head to look at him and gesture with the bottle, and it's bullshit. He glances up at me with a slight smile. Hey, you're preaching to the converted, mate, he chuckles. I'm with you on this. You don't have to convince me of anything. Thanks, I smile. She sure talks a good game. Considering Eve's jealous streak, it won't take much of this to convince her you're cheating, he says, holding it out to me. If you haven't read the most recent messages, I really think you should. I sit up and take it from him before scrolling through the most recent messages from my stalker. Thanks for that wild night. I can't wait to see you again, she says in one of them. You swore you'd ditch the bitch, baby. When's this happening? She goes on. I love you too, Mike. You're so good in bed, she gushes in another. Jesus, I mutter, grinding my teeth together. Anger boils up inside me at the knowledge of these vicious lies, and I imagine myself slapping the faceless slut responsible. I wish I knew who she is. I growl, lobbing my phone into the far corner of the room so I can whoop her ass. I don't know what to say, Mikey, Ryan says, his voice full of sympathy. You won't believe I haven't cheated, and that's not the worst part, I sigh, bringing the bottle to my lips again. Did I tell you she's expecting? Yeah, you mentioned that. He smiles faintly and frowns at me, but I thought you were happy about it. I made it for the moon, I say, looking far from it. Remembering the scan photo, I set the bottle down beside the bed and extract it from my wallet. What if she decided to get rid of it? I worry, staring at the blobby form in the photo. What's that? Ryan says curiously. I hold it out to him wordlessly, and he takes it, examining it for a moment. Well, he gushes, a lopsided grin on his face now. Listen, abortion is a serious step, mate. She's gone to the trouble of having this, so I doubt wild emotions would be enough to sway her, especially if she hadn't planned on doing it before. Besides, I thought you said she was too far along for that. I take the photo from his outstretched hand and look at it again. Yeah, maybe, I sigh. The baby still looks like an alien. I don't see the human resemblance at all. I can't believe I'm going to lose her, Rye. I haven't done anything. Remembering the mess my relationship with Chrissy seems to be in, I bite my lip and wonder if I should share that with him too. Actually, that might not be completely true. I look at him guiltily. You know, that last weekend when Chrissy hung out with me? I lied to you before. Something might have happened. It did? He chuckles, his eyebrows going up. Is it the first time something has happened between you two? I don't really remember, mate. I frown, rubbing my forehead between my finger and thumb. I know she was lying on my bed and I was on top of her and we were kissing, you know. She was into it because she was moaning, but that's all I can remember. The next morning I thought I'd dreamt it until she showed me. I stopped talking, not sure I want to share that part with anybody, even my best mate. Ryan whistles and laughs. Wow, he gasps. Sounds like you really have been cheating on Eve, just like she always thought you were. If what you say is true, I doubt it was the first time. I know. I shake my head with a sigh. How did this happen to me, buddy? I never considered myself to be one of those two-timing rats. It turns out I am just that. I don't deserve for things to work out with either one of those women. So go on, what did Chrissy show you? Ryan says, looking at me intently. I look at him for a moment before resting my head back onto the bed and staring at the paintbrush stroke patterns on the ceiling, trying to work up some nerve as the silence hangs between us. This is going to sound bad, no matter how I word it. The bruises on the underside of her wrists, I whisper, swallowing loudly. Oh, mate, Roy gasps, sounding as shocked as I expected him to be. I sit up and look at him, the look on his face not helping my nerves. We haven't spoken since that morning after. I'm scared, Roy. Why would her wrists be bruised like that? Actually, I have an idea about that, he says, taking a deep breath as if he's about to say something difficult, looking down at his feet. Something happened to me when I was at university that I've never told anyone about. This girl, Chloe something, came on to me at a party one weekend. I'd had a bit to drink, and so had she. She was pretty, but I wasn't interested. I was dating somebody. He pauses, raising his eyes for a moment to look at me. I don't say anything. I'm not sure where he's going with this, but I'm intrigued. This girl wasn't going to take no for an answer, though. She cornered me when I slipped into an empty bedroom to make a phone call, he goes on. She was quite aggressive and managed to get on top of me on the floor. She kept trying to kiss me and touch me up. I rolled her onto her back and held her down by her wrists. Suddenly I get an idea of what the point of the story might be and nod, but don't interrupt. It didn't matter how many times I told her I wasn't interested. Even when I was holding her like that, she didn't give up. I was saved when somebody came into the room. They'd heard the sounds of our struggle, even over the loud music, and come to investigate. He's frowning now and licks his lips. Luckily I didn't have to try and explain it, because it looked bad when he walked in. Chloe told him to clear off, said we were in the middle of something. Ray laughs. He looked so confused at this. I was just grateful for the interruption and managed to get away from her before he followed her order. He stopped smiling now. I saw her the next day. We had some of the same classes. She had bruises on her wrists, Mike. I don't know what happened in that struggle on that bedroom floor, but they weren't the only ones. The craziest thing is, even after that, she seemed to like me the same as she had before. I mean, we weren't friends, but we knew each other to say hi to and smile in passing, and her manner didn't change at all after that party. Wow, man, I exhale, still absorbing his story. That's tough. Something happened to her, Mike. She went hiking or something in Australia during the summer after our second year. During that holiday, she vanished without a trace, Rai says. A chill runs through me. No sign of her was ever found. She never finished her degree, he says, looking slightly pale. It's very creepy to think about. I know people sometimes vanish like that, but to think it happened to somebody I knew, it's chilling. Oh my God, Rai, that's awful, I whisper. I know, he looks at me and briefly raises his eyebrows. Well, I'm not saying that's what happened between you and Chrissy, but if you're serious about wanting to stay faithful to Eve, maybe something similar happened. Had you two been drinking that night? Turning my mind back to last weekend, I nod. Well, there you go. She lost her inhibitions and something happened, so you and your desire to be faithful tried to resist her advances, maybe even fight her off, he says. Since you want her and also under the influence, this was difficult, and you ended up kissing her, in the very least. Yeah, maybe, I frown, trying to recall more than the existing fuzzy memories from that night. I don't really know, bud. If I was fighting her off, I suppose that could explain the bruises, like your story. As far as Eve is concerned, just give her time, Mikey. She might still give you a chance. She only has her suspicions that you cheat on her, he says soothingly, getting to his feet. She'll come around. You sound so sure, I snort as my phone starts ringing. Thanks, buddy. She loves you too much not to, he smiles, and goes over to where my phone is. Oh, don't waste your time, I say, watching him. Probably just small threats. I've been getting them all weekend. He lifts the phone off the floor and laughs. Not unless Eve's mum is the one that's been threatening you, he smiles. Eve's mum? I parrot, my surprise clear. That's what the caller ID says. He holds it out, looking at me expectantly. I'd forgotten I had her number saved in there because Eve hasn't spoken to her in a long time. I wave my hand, dismissing it, and shake my head, pulling a face. The last thing I need is to get an earful from her. Hello, Michael's phone, he says, taking the call for me. It really couldn't look any worse. I'm not surprised she doesn't believe me. I go on, not caring whether or not he's listening to me, or that she is talking on the other end of the phone. What's the point? Ryan wanders over to the window, his back to me and my phone to his ear. No, he says in response to whatever she has said to him, and lowers his voice to a stage whisper. Can you even hear him right now, Mrs. Mackenzie? There is a pause, as if I know anything about her at all. I know she'll be giving him an earful. Well, they'll be beating up an innocent man, he replies, and then goes on, sounding like he's interrupting her. No, he's told me everything. There's another pause, and I can virtually hear her screaming down the phone at him. Yes, I do, Ryan says, sounding on the verge of losing his own temper. Eve's mum, from what I can tell, has that effect on people. Maybe it runs in the family. I bet she has, he scoffs, but it's not what she thinks. Listen, they need to talk. Will you please ask her to get in touch? I laugh, already guessing what she is going to say to that. Ryan turns and looks at me, and then rolls his eyes in response to whatever she said, and sighs deeply. Whatever, look, don't call again, he tells her in closing, and then ends the call. Went well, did it? I chuckle, watching him toss my phone onto the bed at my feet. I bet Leo, Ian and Jared threatened my life too, didn't they? Something like that. Ryan frowns, flopping onto the end of the bed. I don't think I helped much. Hey, don't worry about pissing her off, I tell his back. I'm glad you're here, buddy. I think she was swearing at me in Mexican, he says, sounding puzzled. Spanish, I correct him, glad I didn't take that call. I can't understand much of what she says either. Not that I've spoken to her all that much. He swivels round on the corner of the bed and looks at me, a concerned frown on his face. So are you going to be okay? He says, yawning. I need to turn in. Sure, I reply, attempting a reassuring smile. But it's a weak smile at best. He claps me on the shoulder. Okay, mate, he smiles and gets to his feet. I'll see you later. I stand up too, feeling a little wobbly from the alcohol, and embrace him in a hug. Thanks, Roy, I say into his shoulder. Thanks for being here. It means a lot. He laughs and hugs me back, clapping me on the back. "You're welcome," he says, pulling away. "And for taking on Eve's mum," I smile. He laughs again and moves towards the door while I sit back on the bed, afraid I'll fall down. "Yeah," Ryan turns his head in the doorway. "Take care, Mike." I lift my hand in a stationary wave before flopping back down again. The door clicks shut and I find the remote for the TV, switching it on. Then I get up and lock the door behind him, turning the dimmer on the lights back down. The drink goes right through me sometimes. I need to go. After going to the toilet, I return to bed with the bottle I lifted from the dresser and stare at the TV without really seeing it. Who knows what Fleur is going to come up with after that fuck-up. Maybe I should have put more thought in beforehand. I didn't really want to admit to her that I have amnesia about that night, but she knew anyway. I doubt anything I said proves my innocence. Although such things can't be proved on a word, unless it's an alibi, and guilty people deny what they've done anyway, so enough guilt does not equal innocence. I might have gone a little too far with the parting gag too. Fleur was not amused, and even seemed pretty freaked out. It wasn't a joke so much as gentle persuasion not to crucify me again, and I have a feeling it was an epic fail. Knowing my luck, she'll have me brought up on sexual assault charges. Knocking back some more liquor, I realise I'm watching a romance. Not only that, but the female lead reminds me of Eve. Oh God, I need serious distraction, and quickly change channels. Die Hard 4, perfect. Watching Bruce Willis do his thing doesn't help as much as I'd hoped, but it's something. Rolling onto my phone, I remember that it's there and lift it up. Messages, messages, and more messages. It's nice to feel wanted. Opening one of them, I see that it's from Eve, but can't be bothered to deal with her right now. Even though I find it curious that she has something to say to me, I'll read it later. The next one is more crap from my stalker. Why am I even wasting my time? Swallowing more from the bottle, I turn my phone off again and hurl it across the room. If I can leave me alone already, I mutter. Spiteful harlot is ruining my relationship. Eve was normal enough when she left her house. In fact, she was a little too normal if you ask me, but you never really know what's going on inside her head. That's not a good sign. It's not like her to be so civil. When she feels something, she's not afraid to yell about it. I guess that's the Spanish in her blood, gives her that fiery temper. Initially I like that about her, but it seems strange to me now that I ever felt that way. When Eve said she believed me, I thought maybe she really meant it. Then the next day she accuses me of cheating again, and doesn't go into raging psycho mode. I'm not sure what to make of it. Can somebody change their tune about something like that as fast as that? It would probably just be easier if I admitted to cheating, but I can't do that. For starters, it's total bull. I am not going behind her back like she thinks I am. That almost whatever with Chrissy doesn't count. It's just an invention created by her insecure little mind. But if we are not through, I know she is never going to shut up about these imaginary flings. I'm kind of freaked out about the idea something might have happened with Chrissy that night. But that might be simply because I can't remember it. And of course those bruised wrists. Ryan's idea about it helps me feel a bit better, but there's still a big question mark over things. Fuck, I cursed into the bottle, swallowing more. Who am I kidding? Eve thinks I raped that girl. I know she tried to backtrack and even had me convinced she'd changed her mind, but her initial reaction sticks in my mind. What did you do, Michael? How could you do something like that? Not what I expected from my girlfriend of 2.5 years. She obviously needs time to think. But what if she thinks herself out of this relationship? I mean, my God, I actually thumped her. If that doesn't drive her away, nothing will. Draining the bottle, I close my eyes. If Eve thinks I'm guilty, I don't really have a chance of convincing anyone else, do I? I mean, that cabbie I met in New York was sweet, but a rarity, I think. The noise from the TV has faded into the background, like the sound of the wind blowing, the birds tweeting, or traffic passing in the street. You hear it, but you're not really listening. Ryan is reassuring. It's nice to know there is somebody on my side, but it doesn't stop me feeling like I want to jump off a bridge. What's going to happen when the police finally get around to admitting that I'm innocent, when they discover that little detail? Everyone will think I either paid them off or I'm just better at covering myself than they gave me credit for. But most importantly, I will still be guilty. They will just think I got away with it. Or maybe my innocence will never be proven, in which case I will spend the rest of the best years of my life locked up. Even if my innocence is proven, the rape could remain unsolved and just slide into history that way, a cold case. The second outcome would be just as bad as the first, because, as the only man ever connected to the crime, I would forever be known as the Rhinestone Rapist.